The envelope was cream-colored, heavy stock paper with gold-embossed lettering. The kind that screams money. The kind that tells you someone spared no expense. I held it in my trembling hands, sitting in the hospital cafeteria at 2 a.m., still wearing my scrubs from the double shift I'd just finished. My coffee had gone cold an hour ago. Mr. and Mrs. Richard Castellano request the honor of your presence at the marriage of their daughter, Victoria Castellano, to Mr. Jonathan Pierce. My sister's wedding invitation. I should have felt happy. I should have felt excited. Instead, I felt my chest constricting, felt the familiar burn of tears I'd learned to swallow over the past 6 months. Because 3 floors above me, my 8-year-old daughter Emma lay in a hospital bed, her small body fighting a battle she was losing. Acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Stage 3. Aggressive, treatable, but treatment costs money. The kind of money I didn't have. The kind of money my family had but wouldn't give. I turned the invitation over. On the back, in my mother's perfect cursive, "We hope you can make it, Sarah." It would mean so much to Victoria. No mention of Emma. No acknowledgement that while they planned a $250,000 wedding, my daughter was dying. I remembered the conversation from 2 weeks ago. I'd gone to my parents' estate in Greenwich, the house I grew up in, the house that always smelled like lilies and furniture polish and old money. My father had been in his study, my mother arranging flowers in the sunroom. Victoria had been there too, surrounded by fabric swatches and catering menus. "Dad, I need to talk to you." My voice had been steady then. I'd practiced in the car. He'd looked up from his Wall Street Journal, reading glasses perched on his nose. Richard Castellano, venture capitalist, self-made millionaire, the man who'd pulled himself up from nothing and never let anyone forget it. "Sarah, what brings you by? We weren't expecting you." "It's about Emma." I'd sat down across from him, uninvited. "The experimental treatment in Boston, the one her oncologist recommended. Insurance won't cover it, and I've exhausted every avenue. It's $180,000. The silence that followed was deafening. "That's a lot of money," he'd said finally. "I know, but it's her best chance. The conventional treatments aren't working fast enough, and Dr. Morrison says..." "Sarah." My mother had appeared in the doorway, Victoria trailing behind her. "This really isn't the time. We're in the middle of planning a wedding," I'd finished, my carefully maintained composure starting to crack. "I know, but this is Emma's life." Victoria had sighed, actually sighed like I was being inconvenient. "Sarah, you know we'd help if we could, but the wedding is in 6 weeks. Everything's already been paid for. The deposits, the venue, the band. Cancel it." The words came out before I could stop them. "Or scale it down. Have a smaller wedding. Emma is dying." My father had removed his glasses, pinching the bridge of his nose. "Sarah, you're being dramatic. Emma has insurance. She has doctors. This experimental treatment, there's no guarantee it will even work. There's no guarantee she'll survive without it." "You're a nurse," my mother had said, her voice taking on that particular tone she used when she wanted to sound reasonable. "You know better than anyone that experimental treatments are just that. Experimental. We're not going to throw away money on something that might not work." "It's not throwing away money. It's saving your granddaughter's life." "It's enabling your poor financial planning," my father had said, and those words had landed like a physical blow. "You chose to have a child young. You chose to get divorced. You chose to work as a nurse instead of finishing your business degree. These are consequences of your choices, Sarah. We can't bail you out every time life gets hard." I'd stared at him. This man who'd taught me to ride a bike, who'd carried me on his shoulders, who'd promised he'd always protect me. "I'm not asking you to bail me out. I'm asking you to help save your granddaughter, Emma, your flesh and blood." Victoria had crossed her arms. "It's always about you, isn't it? Always about your problems. This is supposed to be my time, my wedding. Can't you just let me have this one thing without making it about your drama? My drama?" I'd stood up so fast the chair scraped against the hardwood. My 8-year-old daughter has cancer. She's in pain every single day. She's terrified. She's losing her hair. She can't keep food down. She asked me yesterday if she's going to die, and I had to lie to her because the truth is, without this treatment, she probably will. That's not drama, Victoria. That's a nightmare. Lower your voice, my mother had hissed. The caterers are here. That's when I knew. That's when I understood with perfect clarity that my daughter's life was worth less to them than appetizers and floral arrangements. The answer is no, my father had said, putting his glasses back on, returning to his newspaper. We've worked hard for our money, and we're allowed to spend it how we see fit. Victoria's wedding is important to this family. It's important to our social standing. The Pierces are a very influential family. And Emma's death won't affect your social standing at all, will it? I'd grabbed my purse, my hands shaking. As long as you can still go to the country club and brag about Victoria's perfect wedding to the perfect family. Sarah, don't be childish. My mother had followed me to the door. You're upset. We understand. But you need to figure this out on your own. We've already helped you so much over the years. You haven't helped me since I was 18. I'd turned to face her. You cut me off when I got pregnant. You called me an embarrassment. You said I'd ruined my life and that I'd made my bed. Well, I made that bed, and I've been lying in it for 9 years without asking for a damn thing from you. But this isn't about me. This is about Emma. This is about your granddaughter. Our granddaughter who you barely let us see, Victoria had snapped. Because every time you see her, you make comments about how she'd have a better life if I'd given her up for adoption, because you treat her like she's a mistake. The caterers had emerged from the kitchen carrying silver trays. They'd frozen, sensing the tension. I think you should leave, my father had said quietly. And I had. I'd left, and I'd driven back to the hospital, and I'd sat with Emma while she slept, her tiny hand in mine, her breathing shallow and labored. Now, holding the wedding invitation, I felt something inside me crystallize, something cold and hard and unbreakable. They were spending $250,000 on a wedding. My daughter needed $180,000 to live, and they'd chosen flower arrangements over her life. I pulled out my phone, checked Emma's GoFundMe for the 1,000th time. $43,000 raised. Mostly from my colleagues at the hospital, from Emma's teachers, from strangers who'd seen her story and felt moved to help. Beautiful, generous people who had less money than my family but more heart. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough in time. I looked at the invitation again. 6 weeks until the wedding. Emma had maybe 3 months if we didn't start treatment soon. Dr. Morrison had been clear about that. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Did you get the invitation? Victoria really wants you there. It wouldn't be right without her only sister. I laughed. Actually laughed. A sound devoid of humor there in that empty cafeteria at 2 a.m. They wanted me at the wedding. They wanted me to watch them celebrate, to smile for photos, to pretend everything was fine while my daughter died. Another text. Also, Victoria wants Emma as a flower girl if she's feeling up to it. She'd look so precious in the dress we picked out. A flower girl. At a $250,000 wedding. While dying. I set the phone down and pressed my palms against my eyes. I was a nurse. I'd spent 10 years taking care of other people, following rules, being good, being responsible. I'd worked doubles and triples to make ends meet. I'd gone without so Emma could have. I'd done everything right, everything I was supposed to do, and it wasn't enough. I thought about Victoria, who'd never worked a day in her life, who'd gotten a job at Dad's firm straight out of college, a made-up position with a 6-figure salary, who'd gotten a $2 million trust fund on her 25th birthday, who lived in a penthouse apartment paid for by our parents. I thought about Emma upstairs, bald and thin and scared, asking me if heaven hurt. Something snapped. I picked up my phone and typed a response to my mother. We'll be there. Wouldn't miss it for the world. Then I opened my laptop and I started researching. Because I realized something sitting there in that cafeteria, something that should have occurred to me weeks ago. I was a nurse. I had access. I had knowledge. I had skills. And my family, for all their money and social standing, had something they valued more than anything: their reputation. They wanted a perfect wedding? They'd get one. But first, I was going to save my daughter, no matter what it cost them. I stopped sleeping. Not because I couldn't, though the hospital cot next to Emma's bed wasn't exactly conducive to rest, but because I didn't have time. Every moment Emma slept, every break between my shifts, every second I could steal, I spent researching. The Castellano family had money, yes. But more than that, they had investments, properties, assets, a carefully constructed empire my father had built over 30 years. And empires, I was learning, had cracks. I started with the wedding itself. Victoria had spared no expense, which meant she'd also spared no detail in broadcasting every aspect of it on social media. Her Instagram was a monument to excess. The $30,000 Vera Wang dress, the 12-tier cake from a celebrity baker, the imported Italian marble for the custom dance floor, the live orchestra, the ice sculptures, the imported flowers that cost more than most people's cars. She'd tagged vendors, locations, posted screenshots of contracts with prices visible, because nothing said, "I've made it," like showing the world exactly how much Daddy was spending. She'd also, crucially, posted about the venue. The Ashford Estate, a historical mansion in the Hamptons that the Pierces owned. Jonathan's family, old money, the kind that made my father's fortune look nouveau riche by comparison. I dug deeper into the Pierces. Shipping magnates, 3 generations of wealth, ties to half the politicians in New York. Jonathan was the golden boy, Harvard Law, youngest partner at his firm, destined to take over the family business. The wedding wasn't just a celebration, it was a merger. The Castellanos getting legitimacy through association with old money, the Pierces getting fresh capital and business connections. My father had probably spent months setting this up, using Victoria as his chess piece, which meant this wedding failing would cost him more than money. It would cost him everything he'd worked for. I smiled, there in the dim light of Emma's hospital room at 4 a.m., and it felt like the first genuine smile I'd managed in months. "Mommy?" Emma's voice was small, raspy from the breathing tube they'd removed 2 days ago. "I'm here, baby." I was at her side instantly, smoothing back the thin wisps of hair she had left. "Did you have a bad dream?" "No. I dreamed about dancing." She looked up at me with those huge brown eyes, the ones that used to sparkle with mischief. Now they just looked tired. "Like we used to do in the kitchen, remember?" "I remember." My throat constricted. We'd dance to whatever was on the radio while I cooked dinner. She'd stand on my feet and I'd spin her around until she giggled so hard she hiccuped. "When I get better, can we dance again?" "When you get better, we'll dance every single day." "Promise?" I kissed her forehead. "I promise, Emma. I promise you're going to get better." She smiled, believed me, and drifted back to sleep. I returned to my laptop with renewed purpose. The GoFundMe had stalled at $47,000. Not enough, not nearly enough. Dr. Morrison had pulled me aside yesterday to say we were running out of time. Emma's numbers were declining. The leukemia was progressing faster than anticipated. We needed to start the experimental treatment within 3 weeks, or it would be too late. 3 weeks. The wedding was in 4 weeks. I'd filed for every grant, every program, every charity that existed. I'd sold everything I owned that had value. I'd taken out loans against my future, loans I'd probably never be able to repay. I'd begged hospitals, pharmaceutical companies, research facilities. Nothing, nowhere near enough. I opened a new browser tab and searched for Richard Castellano's business holdings. His venture capital firm, Castellano and Associates, had made strategic investments in dozens of companies. Biotech, mostly, medical devices, pharmaceuticals. The irony wasn't lost on me. My father made millions investing in companies that developed cancer treatments, but wouldn't spend a fraction of that to actually treat his granddaughter's cancer. I clicked through pages of financial reports, public filings, news articles, and then I found it. 3 months ago, Castellano and Associates had led a $50 million Series C funding round for a company called Neural Sync, a biotech startup developing brain-computer interfaces. Cutting-edge technology. Potentially revolutionary, the kind of investment that could return billions if it succeeded. The company was also, according to a buried article in a medical journal I had access to through the hospital, facing serious questions about their clinical trial data. Nothing definite, just whispers. Concerns from independent researchers about methodology, about whether the results were as promising as claimed. My father had invested $15 million of his own money, plus leveraged investments from his other clients. If NeuralSync failed, it wouldn't just cost him money, it would destroy his reputation. Venture capitalists lived and died by their track record. I kept digging, found more threads to pull. A real estate deal that was teetering on the edge of collapse. A lawsuit that had been quietly settled but could be reopened. Business partnerships that were more fragile than they appeared. My father's empire wasn't as solid as it looked. It was all leverage, all carefully maintained relationships and reputations. One significant hit could start a cascade, but I needed more than information. I needed access. I needed leverage of my own. I pulled up Victoria's Instagram again, scrolling through months of posts. Her life was an open book. Brunch at the country club, shopping trips to Paris, charity galas where she posed with people she'd never think about again. And there, buried in a post from 8 months ago, was something interesting. Victoria at a fundraiser, champagne glass in hand, standing next to a woman I recognized. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, head of oncology at Mount Sinai. One of the leading cancer researchers in the country. Someone who sat on the boards of multiple medical charities and had the ear of every major pharmaceutical company. Someone who could, with a single phone call, fast-track Emma's treatment. Get her into clinical trials, access experimental drugs, things that money alone couldn't buy because they required medical authorization, research protocols, institutional approval. I zoomed in on the photo. Victoria had tagged Dr. Walsh. They were at a gala for the Castellano Foundation, my father's charitable organization, the one he used for tax write-offs and social climbing. I opened a new tab and researched the foundation. My father was the founder and chairman. Victoria was on the board. They hosted annual fundraising galas that raised millions for medical research, while my daughter died. The rage that swept through me was so intense I had to physically grip the edge of the bed to keep from shaking. They had connections to the exact people who could help Emma. They'd probably shaken hands with Dr. Morrison at some gala. They'd smiled for photos while pledging money to fight childhood cancer. But when it was their own granddaughter, their own blood, it was experimental and not guaranteed, and poor financial planning. I looked at Emma, sleeping peacefully now, her chest rising and falling in shallow breaths. I made my decision. I was going to that wedding. I was going to smile and play the role of dutiful sister. I was going to be everything they expected. And then I was going to systematically dismantle everything they valued, piece by piece, until they had no choice but to give me what I needed. But I couldn't do it alone. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found a name I hadn't called in years. Marcus Chen, my ex-husband, Emma's father. Marcus was a tech investigator for a corporate law firm. He specialized in digital forensics, in finding things people wanted hidden. We'd divorced when Emma was 2, amicably mostly. He'd wanted different things than I did. But he'd always paid his child support, always shown up for Emma's birthdays, always been there when it mattered. It was 5 a.m. I called anyway. He answered on the 3rd ring, voice thick with sleep. "Sarah, what's wrong? Is Emma?" "She's the same. Marcus, I need your help. I need it and I can't explain why over the phone, but I need you to trust me." Silence. Then, "What do you need?" "I need you to dig into my father's business. I need you to find every vulnerability, every secret, every piece of leverage that exists. And I need you to do it quietly." "Sarah, what are you planning?" "I'm planning to save our daughter. Are you in or not?" Another pause. Longer this time. I could hear him breathing, could almost hear him thinking. "I'm in. Send me everything you have." I spent the next hour forwarding him every file, every link, every piece of information I'd compiled. When I was done, I sat back and looked at Emma again. "I'm going to fix this, baby," I whispered. "Whatever it takes." My phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. "OMG, Sarah. Mom said you're coming to the wedding. I'm so happy. And Emma, as a flower girl, will be so precious. Can you come by this weekend for dress fittings? The designer needs measurements." I typed back, "Absolutely. We wouldn't miss it. Emma's so excited." Then I texted Marcus. "I need one more thing. I need access to Victoria's email and social media accounts. Can you do that?" His response came back within minutes. "Already working on it. Sarah, whatever you're doing, be careful. Careful is how Emma dies. I'm done being careful." I put the phone away and opened my laptop again. There was work to do, plans to make, pieces to move into position. My family had chosen a wedding over a life. Now they were going to learn what that choice cost them. The sun was starting to rise outside Emma's window, pale light filtering through the blinds. She stirred in her sleep, reaching out instinctively. I took her hand and held it gently. "Soon, baby," I whispered. "Soon you're going to get better. Mommy promises." And I was going to keep that promise, no matter what I had to do, no matter who I had to become. They wanted a perfect wedding? They'd get one, right up until the moment I burned it all down. Marcus delivered within 48 hours. I was in the hospital cafeteria again. It had become my office, my war room, when my phone buzzed with an encrypted file. I opened it on my laptop, and what I saw made my pulse quicken. Victoria's entire digital life, emails, text messages, social media passwords, cloud storage, everything. Marcus had included a note. She uses the same password for everything. Victoria P1 Nurse 2025. Her married name before she's even married. "I also found something interesting in your father's business emails. Call me." I called immediately. "Tell me," I said, not bothering with pleasantries. "Your father's neural sync investment? It's worse than you thought. The company's about to collapse. The FDA is opening an investigation into their clinical trials, falsified data, patient safety violations. It's going to go public in about 6 weeks, right after the wedding," I finished. "He doesn't know yet?" "He suspects. There are emails between him and the NeuralSync CEO from 2 weeks ago. They're trying to keep it quiet, delay the announcement, give investors time to pull out quietly. Your father's been moving money, trying to liquidate some assets without drawing attention. How much does he stand to lose? Conservatively, $30 million. But it's not just his money. He brought in other investors, high-profile clients. When this breaks, his reputation is finished. No one will trust him again." I leaned back in my chair, mind racing. "And he doesn't know the timeline? That it's breaking after the wedding?" "The FDA investigation is confidential right now. Only the company executives and their lawyers know. Your father suspects something's wrong, but he doesn't know how bad or how soon. But you know. I have a friend at the FDA. He owed me a favor." I smiled. "Marcus, you beautiful bastard." "Sarah, what are you going to do with this?" "I'm going to give my father a choice. Emma's treatment, or I make sure that investigation goes public before the wedding instead of after." Silence on the other end. Then, carefully, "That's extortion. That's survival. If you do this, there's no going back. Your family will never forgive you. They already chose not to forgive me. They chose it the moment they valued a party over their granddaughter's life." I paused. "Are you having second thoughts?" "No, I just wanted to make sure you understood the cost." "I understand. What else did you find?" "The Pierce family isn't as clean as they look either. Jonathan has a sealed DUI from 3 years ago. His father used connections to bury it. There's also a woman, Melissa Rodriguez, who filed a harassment complaint against him at his firm. The complaint disappeared, but I found the original filing. She was paid $200,000 to keep quiet and sign an NDA. She waved her hand vaguely. "Depressing. This is supposed to be a happy day." Emma tugged on my sleeve and I bent down. "Mommy, I don't think Aunt Victoria likes me," she whispered. "Aunt Victoria doesn't like anyone, baby. It's not personal." But watching Victoria preen in her $30,000 dress while my daughter struggled to stand, I felt my resolve harden into something unbreakable. That night I put Emma to bed in the hospital and met Marcus at a coffee shop 3 blocks away. He looked tired, worried. "How is she?" "Declining. Dr. Morrison says we have 2 weeks, maybe 3, before the experimental treatment becomes pointless. The cancer is progressing too fast. And the wedding is in 2 weeks. "Exactly." I pulled out my laptop. "I need your help with one more thing. Can you create a website, something that looks official, like a news site?" "Sarah, can you do it or not?" He sighed. "Yes, what for?" "I'm going to write an article about neural sync, about the FDA investigation, about my father's involvement. I'm going to make it look like it's already been published by a legitimate medical news outlet, and I'm going to send it to my father. That's fraud. That could be criminal. It's a draft, a preview of what's coming. I'm giving him a chance to prevent it from becoming real." Marcus rubbed his face. "And how are you going to prevent it from becoming real?" "I'm not. The investigation is real. It's going public in 6 weeks no matter what I do. But my father doesn't know that. He'll think I have the power to stop it. He'll think that if he gives me what I need for Emma, I'll make it go away." "And when he finds out you can't actually stop it?" My mind was already spinning, fitting pieces together. "Send me everything, all of it." "Already did, Sarah. Emma's lucky to have you." "Emma's dying because the people who should protect her decided she wasn't worth protecting. I'm just fixing their mistake." I hung up and dove into the files. Victoria's emails were a gold mine of vanity and carelessness. She'd kept every conversation with vendors, every contract, every detail of the wedding planning. She'd also kept emails with Jonathan that made my skin crawl. Casual references to the harassment situation with Melissa, jokes about how Daddy fixed it with the DUI, discussions about hiding assets in trusts to avoid taxes. These were not good people. They were not people who deserved protection. But I needed to be smart. I needed to time everything perfectly. I spent the next week playing the dutiful sister. I went to the dress fitting, endured Victoria's passive-aggressive comments about how thin I looked and whether I was taking care of myself. I smiled through my mother's thinly veiled criticisms about my hair, my clothes, my life choices. Emma came with me, wearing a mask to protect her compromised immune system. She was so weak I had to carry her most of the time, but she insisted on coming because she wanted to see the pretty dress. Victoria barely looked at her. When the designer brought out the flower girl dress, a confection of silk and lace that cost more than 2 months of my rent, my mother made a comment about how, hopefully Emma will have more color in her cheeks by the wedding. "She has cancer," I said flatly. "The lack of color is from chemotherapy." "Well, we could always use some makeup, just a little blush to make her look healthier for the photos." I counted to 10, reminded myself that I needed them to think everything was fine. "Sure, Mom. Whatever you think is best." Victoria was absorbed in her own reflection, admiring how the wedding dress made her look. "Sarah, you'll fix Emma's hair the day of, right? Like style it somehow? I don't want the photos to look, I know what. By then, Emma will have her treatment. I don't care what happens to me after that." "Sarah, they could sue you, have you arrested, destroy your nursing license." "Let them. Emma will be alive." He stared at me for a long moment. "You've really thought this through." "I've thought about nothing else." I leaned forward. "Marcus, I need you to understand something. I'm not doing this because I want to. I'm not doing this because I'm angry or vengeful or hurt. Though I'm all of those things. I'm doing this because it's the only option left. I've tried everything else. Everything legal, everything moral, everything right. And my daughter is still dying while my family spends $250,000 on a party." "I know." He opened his own laptop. "Give me 2 days. I'll have the website ready." "Thank you." "Don't thank me. Just promise me that when this is over, when Emma's better, you'll get her somewhere far away from these people." "That's the plan." Over the next 48 hours, I crafted my masterpiece. An article detailing the neural sync scandal, complete with quotes from anonymous FDA sources, financial breakdowns showing my father's exposure, and implications about what this meant for his other business dealings. Marcus made it look perfect. Professional layout, convincing byline, even fake social media accounts for the journalist who'd written it. We backdated it to make it look like it had been published yesterday but was somehow not showing up in normal search results yet. A glitch, a soft launch, whatever my father would believe. Then I packaged everything else I had. Jonathan's DUI, the harassment complaint, screenshots of Victoria's emails showing she knew about both and helped cover them up, financial documents showing tax evasion, every dirty secret I'd uncovered. I created a simple PowerPoint presentation, just facts, just evidence, and on the final slide, the cost of your granddaughter's treatment, $180,000. The cost of keeping these secrets, priceless, your choice. I saved it all to a USB drive. It was Thursday afternoon, 10 days before the wedding, when I drove to my father's office in Manhattan. His assistant tried to stop me, but I walked past her into his corner office with its floor-to-ceiling windows and its view of Central Park. My father looked up from his desk, annoyed. "Sarah, you're going to listen to me." I closed the door behind me. "You're going to listen, and then you're going to make a decision." "I don't have time for—" I plugged the USB drive into his computer and pulled up the presentation. "Make time." I watched his face as he read, watched the color drain, watched his hands start to shake. When he reached the Neural Sync article, he actually gasped. Where did you get this?" "Does it matter?" "This is confidential. This is insider information. You could go to prison for what? Writing an article? I'm not a journalist. I'm just someone who did research. Someone who found information that's already out there." I clicked to the next slide. "Now, here's what's going to happen. You're going to wire $180,000 to Massachusetts General Hospital's Experimental Treatment Fund, designated for Emma Castellano. You're going to do it today, and in return, this article doesn't get sent to every major news outlet, investment firm, and competitor you have. You're blackmailing me. You're blackmailing your own father. I'm giving you a choice, the same choice you gave me. Except I'm offering a much better deal. I'm only asking for Emma's life, not demanding you sacrifice your entire future." He stood up, his face red. "You ungrateful. Do you have any idea what you're doing? What this would do to this family?" "I know exactly what it would do. The same thing letting Emma die would do to me." "This is different." "How? Explain to me how your reputation is more valuable than your granddaughter's life. Explain it to me in a way that makes sense." He couldn't. He opened his mouth, closed it, sat back down. "Dad." I softened my voice slightly. "You have $30 million on the line with Neural Sync. That's going away no matter what. That's out of your control. But your reputation? That you can save. Give me $180,000 now, voluntarily, as a grandfather helping his granddaughter. Take credit for it. Tell people you're funding experimental cancer treatment for your own family member. You'll look like a hero instead of a villain. And the article? I'll make sure it doesn't spread before the wedding. After the wedding, the FDA investigation goes public anyway. That's happening with or without me. But by then, Victoria will be married, the Pierces will be family, and you'll have weathered the storm with your reputation mostly intact. Because when Neural Sync falls apart, you can point to Emma and say, 'At least I saved my granddaughter. At least I did the right thing when it mattered.'" He stared at me. "You've become someone I don't recognize." "No. I've always been this person. You just never noticed because I was too busy being convenient, being easy, being the daughter who didn't make demands." My phone rang. "Dr. Morrison," I answered. "Dr. Morrison." Her voice was tight, professional, but I could hear the urgency. "Sarah, Emma's numbers dropped significantly overnight. We need to make a decision about treatment within 48 hours, or we're looking at palliative care options." The world tilted. 48 hours. "I'm sorry. I know we said 2 weeks, but the progression is faster than anticipated. If we're going to pursue the experimental treatment, we need to start the prep immediately." I understand. I'll call you back within the hour. I hung up and looked at my father. You have 48 hours to decide. Emma doesn't have any longer than that. I ejected the USB drive, leaving the presentation on his screen. The money or the article, your choice. You have until Saturday at noon. I walked out, past his assistant, into the elevator, and I didn't let myself shake until I was back in my car. He couldn't. He opened his mouth, closed it, sat back down. Dad. I softened my voice slightly. You have $30 million on the line with Neural Sync. That's going away no matter what. That's out of your control. But your reputation? That you can save. Give me $180,000 now, voluntarily, as a grandfather helping his granddaughter. Take credit for it. Tell people you're funding experimental cancer treatment for your own family member. You'll look like a hero instead of a villain. And the article? I'll make sure it doesn't spread before the wedding. After the wedding, the FDA investigation goes public anyway. That's happening with or without me. But by then, Victoria will be married, the Pierces will be family, and you'll have weathered the storm with your reputation mostly intact. Because when Neural Sync falls apart, you can point to Emma and say, "At least I saved my granddaughter. At least I did the right thing when it mattered." He stared at me. You've become someone I don't recognize. No, I've always been this person. You just never noticed because I was too busy being convenient, being easy, being the daughter who didn't make demands. My phone rang. Dr. Morrison, I answered. Dr. Morrison? Her voice was tight, professional, but I could hear the urgency. Sarah, Emma's numbers dropped significantly overnight. We need to make a decision about treatment within 48 hours. Or we're looking at palliative care options. The world tilted. 48 hours. I'm sorry. I know we said 2 weeks, but the progression is faster than anticipated. If we're going to pursue the experimental treatment, we need to start the prep immediately. I understand. I'll call you back within the hour. I hung up and looked at my father. You have 48 hours to decide. Emma doesn't have any longer than that. I ejected the USB drive, leaving the presentation on his screen. The money or the article, your choice. You have until Saturday at noon. I walked out, past his assistant, into the elevator, and I didn't let myself shake until I was back in my car. Saturday morning, 11:47 a.m. I sat in Emma's hospital room, my phone in one hand, Marcus on speed dial with the other. Emma was sleeping, her breathing assisted by oxygen now. The decline had been rapid, brutal. Dr. Morrison had been by twice already this morning, her expression growing more grave each time. We need an answer, Sarah, she'd said during her last visit. If we're doing this, we need to start prep today. The treatment facility in Boston needs at least 6 hours' notice to ready the protocols. You'll have an answer by noon. She'd nodded, squeezed my shoulder, and left. Now I watched the clock on my phone tick toward 12. Watched the minutes evaporate like water in the desert. My father hadn't called, hadn't texted, hadn't responded at all. At 11:55, my mother called instead. Sarah! Her voice was ice. What have you done? I gave Dad a choice. Has he made it? You've upset him terribly. He's been sick over this. The stress. Has he made his choice? Sarah, you need to understand, Mom, Emma has minutes. Not days, not hours, minutes. Is he wiring the money or not? A pause. Then, in a voice dripping with disdain, your father is not going to be blackmailed by his own daughter. He's not going to reward this kind of behavior. You've crossed a line that can never be uncrossed. My hand tightened on the phone. So that's a no. Sarah, if you release any of those files, if you do anything to jeopardize Victoria's wedding or your father's business, we will press charges. We will sue you for everything you have. We will make sure you never work as a nurse again. Do you understand? Perfectly. I hung up. 11:58. I called Marcus. Send it. Everything. Every outlet. Right now. Sarah, are you sure? Send it. Sending. I hung up and immediately called Dr. Morrison. We're moving forward with treatment. Whatever it takes. I'll figure out the money. Sarah, without the funds guaranteed, I said I'll figure it out. Just start the prep, please. A long pause. Okay, I'll make the calls. But Sarah, Boston needs a deposit. At least $50,000 up front. If we can't provide that, you'll have it, I promise. I hung up and opened my laptop, pulled up Emma's GoFundMe, $47,000. Not enough. I looked at my bank account. $3,200. My credit cards were maxed. I'd already sold everything of value. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely type. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Ms. Castellano, this is Jennifer Walsh. Dr. Jennifer Walsh from Mount Sinai. I froze. The oncologist. The one from Victoria's Instagram photos. Dr. Walsh, yes. How did you get this number? I received a very interesting package this morning. Screenshots of emails, text messages, social media posts, all from Victoria Castellano's accounts, all showing her laughing about your daughter's condition while planning a $250,000 wedding, all showing your father's refusal to help fund treatment for his granddaughter despite having extensive means. I couldn't breathe. Ms. Castellano, I sit on the board of your father's charitable foundation. A foundation that exists specifically to fund childhood cancer research and treatment. The irony of his granddaughter dying from cancer while he refuses to help her is not lost on me. Dr. Walsh, I can explain. You don't need to. I've already made some calls. Massachusetts General has a clinical trial for pediatric ALL that Emma qualifies for. It's fully funded by the pharmaceutical company developing the treatment. No cost to the family. I've secured her a spot. They're expecting her Monday morning. I couldn't speak. Tears were streaming down my face. I've also resigned from the Castellano Foundation Board, effective immediately, she continued, and I've made sure that every other board member knows exactly why. Your father's reputation in the medical community is finished. No reputable researcher will work with him again. Dr. Walsh, I don't know what to say. Don't say anything. Just get your daughter to Boston. I'll email you the details within the hour. She hung up. I sat there, phone in my hand, unable to process what had just happened. Someone had sent Dr. Walsh the files. Someone had exposed my family before I'd even had the chance. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. That wasn't me. I sent the articles but not the personal files. Someone else got access. Another text, this one from an unknown number. You're not the only one they've hurt. A friend. I stared at the message, trying to understand. Then my phone exploded with notifications. The articles had gone live, all of them. Major financial news outlets, medical journals, tech blogs. The neural sync scandal was everywhere. My father's name was everywhere. But there was more. Someone had leaked everything to the press. Not just neural sync, the tax evasion. Jonathan Pierce's DUI and harassment cover-up. Victoria's emails showing she'd helped hide it all. The wedding. It was all over social media. Castellano. Wedding was trending. But not in the way they'd hoped. They spent $250K on a wedding while their granddaughter dies of cancer. Rich people priorities. Flower arrangements. Child's life. The Castellano family. Proof that money can't buy decency. Photos of the wedding preparations side by side with photos of Emma in her hospital bed. Someone had found those on my social media from months ago. The contrast was devastating. My phone rang. Victoria, screaming before I could even say hello. You bitch! You absolute bitch! Do you know what you've done? Victoria! The Pierces are calling off the wedding. Jonathan's father says our family is toxic. They don't want to be associated with us. Everything is ruined. Victoria, You did this. You were jealous and bitter and you couldn't stand to see me happy. You've destroyed my life. Your life? Your life? Emma was dying and you wanted her as a flower girl for your photos. She's not even going to die now, is she? I saw the posts. Someone got her into a trial. So this was all for nothing. You destroyed my wedding for nothing. The line went dead. I sat there, stunned. Then I started laughing. I couldn't help it. Hysterical, exhausted, relieved laughter that turned into sobs. Emma stirred in her bed. Mommy! I was at her side instantly, wiping my tears. Hey, baby, I'm here. Why are you crying? Because we get to go to Boston. Remember I told you about the special treatment that would make you better? Her eyes widened. Really? Really, we leave Monday morning. But what about Aunt Victoria's wedding? There's not going to be a wedding, sweetheart. Because of me? No, baby. Not because of you. Because some people finally learned that there are more important things than parties. She smiled, and in that smile I saw a glimpse of the little girl she used to be, the one who danced in the kitchen and laughed until she hiccuped. My phone kept buzzing, messages, calls, notifications. I ignored all of it. Then one more call came through. My father. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Sarah! His voice was broken, defeated. What have you done? I saved my daughter, that's what I did. My business is destroyed. Victoria's engagement is off. Your mother she's had to be sedated. The press is camped outside our house. Our friends won't return our calls. Everything you built was on sand. You built it on reputation and connections, and the appearance of being good people. But you're not good people, Dad. Good people don't let their granddaughter die to save face at a wedding. We would have helped, eventually. After the wedding, She didn't have until after the wedding. And you knew that. Dr. Morrison told you that when she called you 3 weeks ago. You knew, and you chose the wedding anyway. Silence. Long, horrible silence. I'm sorry, he finally whispered. God help me, Sarah. I'm sorry. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry your reputation is ruined. You're not sorry about what you did to Emma. If the world hadn't found out, you'd still be planning Victoria's wedding and sleeping fine at night. That's not... Goodbye, Dad. I hung up and blocked the number. Dr. Morrison came in, tablet in hand, her expression carefully neutral. Sarah, I have the details from Boston. The trial starts Monday. Emma will need to stay in Boston for at least 6 weeks, possibly longer. The pharmaceutical company is covering treatment costs, but housing, I'll figure it out. Actually, she smiled, you have quite a few people who want to help. The GoFundMe has exploded in the last hour. You're up to $230,000. I stared at her. What? People are furious about what your family did. They're donating en masse. You have more than enough now for housing, food, travel, everything Emma might need during recovery and after. I couldn't speak, couldn't process. There's more, Dr. Morrison continued. I've had calls from 3 different medical charities offering to cover any additional costs that come up. From hospital executives offering financial assistance programs. From lawyers offering to help you pro bono if your family tries to sue. Sarah, the world is on your side. Emma tugged on my sleeve. Mommy, does this mean I get to have my princess room in Boston? I laughed through tears. Yes, baby, the biggest princess room we can find. Over the next 48 hours, I watched my family's empire crumble in real time. The neural sync scandal broke wide open. My father's firm lost half its clients in one day. The ones who stayed demanded he resign from his own company. Victoria's Instagram, once a carefully curated monument to privilege, became a public pillory. Comments flooded in. Brands dropped her sponsorships. The charity board she sat on asked for her resignation. The Pierce family released a statement saying they'd mutually decided to end the engagement, but everyone knew the truth. Jonathan Pierce's harassment victim came forward publicly, emboldened by the attention. His law firm placed him on administrative leave pending investigation. My mother tried to call me 17 times. I didn't answer. What could she possibly say that would matter now? But the most surprising thing was the messages I received from others. Former classmates, people I hadn't spoken to in years, reaching out to share their own stories of being cut off by wealthy parents for disappointing them. People who'd been disowned for being gay, for marrying the wrong person, for choosing careers their parents deemed beneath them. Nurses from my hospital sharing stories of rich patients who'd demanded special treatment while looking down on the staff. Doctors who'd witnessed families prioritize appearances over patient care. And strangers. Thousands of strangers who saw Emma's story and recognized something in it. Parents who'd moved heaven and earth to save their sick children. People who'd been betrayed by family when they needed help most. People who understood that money without compassion is just paper. Someone had started a hashtag, Emma's Army. It was trending worldwide. On Sunday evening, as I packed our things for the trip to Boston, Emma asleep in her hospital bed, Marcus came to visit. "Hey," he said softly, sitting in the chair next to me. "Hey. How are you holding up?" "I don't know, I feel numb, like this isn't real." "It's real. Emma's going to get treatment. That's what matters." "Marcus, did you find out who sent those files to Dr. Walsh? Who leaked everything to the press?" He shook his head. "I have theories, but no proof. My best guess? Someone who works for your father. Maybe someone he screwed over. Someone who saw the files when he opened them on his office computer and decided to do the right thing." "A friend," I said, remembering the text message. "A friend," he agreed. We sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Marcus said, "Sarah, what you did, what you were willing to do, that took courage. Or desperation. Maybe both. But you saved her. However it happened, whoever helped, you saved Emma." I looked at my daughter, sleeping peacefully, oxygen flowing, IV delivering medications that were keeping her stable until we could get to Boston. "I didn't do it alone," I said. "That's what I learned through all of this. I thought I had to be strong enough, smart enough, strategic enough to do it by myself. But I couldn't. It took Dr. Walsh making calls. It took that mysterious friend leaking information. It took thousands of strangers donating money. It took you helping me find the leverage. It took a village," Marcus said. "It took a village to save Emma because my family wouldn't. How messed up is that?" "Very. But it also shows you something important. There are more good people in the world than bad. Your family made their choice, but so did everyone else. And overwhelmingly, people chose to help a little girl they'd never met rather than protect the reputation of people who didn't deserve protecting." My phone buzzed. Another message from the unknown number. "Thank you for having the courage to start this. Some of us just needed someone to light the match." "Your friend." I showed it to Marcus. "Whoever that is," he said, "they're right. You lit the match. You were willing to burn it all down for Emma. That's not something everyone could do." "I'd do worse," I said quietly. "If she needed it, I'd do so much worse." "I know. That's what makes you a good mother." Emma stirred, opened her eyes, saw us both. "Daddy?" Marcus smiled, moving to her bedside. "Hey, princess. Are you coming to Boston with us?" He looked at me. I nodded. "Yeah," he said. "I'm coming to Boston. Someone has to help Mom find the best pizza, right?" Emma smiled, and for the first time in months, it was a real smile, full of hope. Monday morning, we left for Boston, a hospital transport van, comfortable and equipped with everything Emma needed. Dr. Morrison came to see us off. "You did the right thing, Sarah," she said as we loaded Emma into the van. "Not the easy thing, not the comfortable thing, but the right thing. I blackmailed my family and destroyed their lives. You saved your daughter and exposed people who deserved to be exposed. There's a difference." As we pulled away from the hospital, I looked back at the building where we'd spent so many terrifying nights. Where I'd held Emma while she cried from pain. Where I'd made impossible decisions and lived with unbearable fear. I thought about my family, dealing with the fallout of their choices. Part of me felt guilty, but mostly I felt free. Free from the obligation to people who'd never valued me. Free from the expectation that I should accept crumbs from their table and be grateful. Free from the belief that family meant unconditional loyalty, even when they gave nothing in return. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Victoria. "I hope you're happy. I hope Emma was worth destroying everything for. I looked at my daughter, sitting between Marcus and me, excitement in her eyes despite her exhaustion, talking about what her room in Boston might look like. I texted back, "She was worth everything. That's the difference between us. I know what matters." Then I blocked her number too. We drove toward Boston, toward hope, toward a future where Emma would dance in the kitchen again. Behind us, my family's empire continued to collapse. I didn't look back. We're almost to the end of Sarah's journey, but I want to know, are you Team Sarah? Do you think she went too far or not far enough? Drop a comment below and let me know. And if you're not already subscribed, hit that button now because the finale is going to show you exactly what happens when karma comes full circle. What happens when the people who refused to save Emma suddenly need Sarah's help? Trust me, you don't want to miss this. 6 months later. Emma's hair was growing back. Soft brown curls that she refused to let me cut because she wanted them long enough for a ponytail. She was in remission, full, beautiful, miraculous remission. The experimental treatment had worked beyond anyone's expectations. Dr. Walsh visited us twice during our stay in Boston, and each time she told me Emma was exceeding every marker, beating every odd. We'd stayed in Boston for 8 weeks. Then we came back to New York, but not to our old apartment. The GoFundMe money, the donations, the outpouring of support. It had given us options. A new start, a 2-bedroom apartment in Queens with a park nearby where Emma could play. Nothing fancy, but it was ours, and it was filled with light. I'd gone back to work at the hospital, but the story had followed me. Patients recognized me. Some judged, thought I'd gone too far, destroyed my family unnecessarily. But most understood. Most had their own stories of family betrayal, of choosing between impossible options, of learning that blood doesn't always mean loyalty. Emma was back in school, thriving, making up for lost time with the fierce determination only children possess. She talked about becoming a doctor someday. "So I can help kids like me," she'd say, and my heart would break and heal simultaneously. Marcus and I hadn't gotten back together. That ship had sailed years ago, but we'd become better friends than we'd ever been as spouses. He came over twice a week for dinner, helped Emma with homework, made her laugh. We were a family, just not the traditional kind. I hadn't spoken to my parents or Victoria in 6 months. Hadn't tried, hadn't wanted to. Some bridges once burned aren't meant to be rebuilt. Then, on a Tuesday evening in late spring, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. "Hello?" "Sarah." My mother's voice, but different, smaller, afraid. "Please don't hang up." I should have. I'd blocked their numbers, but she'd found a way around it. "What do you want?" My voice was ice. "It's your father. Sarah, he's had a stroke, a severe one. He's at Lenox Hill Hospital. He's been asking for you." I stood in my kitchen, Emma's drawings covering the refrigerator, the smell of dinner still in the air, and felt absolutely nothing. "I'm sorry to hear that." "Sarah, please, he needs you. We need you." Funny how that works. Need. When Emma needed you, you had a wedding to plan. Now Dad needs me, and I have a life to live. "Sarah, please. I know you're angry, I know we failed you. But he's dying. The doctors say... They say he might not make it through the night. Please, let him see you one more time." "Why would I do that?" "Because he's your father. Because despite everything, he loves you." I laughed. A harsh, bitter sound. "He loves me so much he was willing to let his granddaughter die. That's not love, Mom. That's not even basic human decency." "He's been punished enough. We've all been punished enough. The business is gone. Victoria's life is ruined. We lost everything, Sarah. Everything. Isn't that enough?" "You didn't lose everything. You still have each other. Emma and I had nothing, and you were fine with that. Please." She was crying now. "I'm begging you, just come say goodbye, that's all I'm asking." I hung up, but the call haunted me. I went through the motions of putting Emma to bed, reading her favorite book, kissing her forehead. She fell asleep quickly, exhausted from a full day of being a healthy, active child. I sat in my living room, staring at my phone. My father was dying. The man who'd taught me to ride a bike, who'd carried me on his shoulders, who'd also chosen money and reputation over his granddaughter's life. I called Marcus. "What's wrong?" he asked immediately. I told him. "Jesus," he said when I finished. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know. Part of me wants to let him die alone. Let him understand what it feels like to be abandoned by family when you need them most." "And the other part?" "The other part remembers that Emma asked me once why we never see Grandpa anymore, and I told her that sometimes people make choices that hurt us, and we have to protect ourselves by walking away. And she said, 'But if they say sorry, we forgive them, right? That's what you taught me.' He hasn't said sorry. No, but he's dying. And maybe that's punishment enough. Sarah, you don't owe him anything. After what he did, I know I don't owe him, but maybe I owe myself. Maybe I need to look him in the eye one more time and know that I'm better than he is, that I have the humanity he lacked." Silence. Then, "Do you want me to come with you?" "No. This is something I need to do alone." I called Dr. Morrison, asked if she could stay with Emma for a few hours. She agreed immediately. She'd become more than Emma's doctor over the past months. She'd become a friend. At 10 p.m., I walked into Lenox Hill Hospital. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd spent so many nights in hospitals over the past year, but this time I wasn't the one begging for help. My mother was in the waiting room. She looked like she'd aged 10 years in 6 months. Designer clothes hanging loose on her frame. Hair not quite perfect. No makeup to hide the dark circles under her eyes. "Sarah," she stood. "Thank you for coming. I didn't think—" "Where is he?" "ICU, room 412. They're only allowing immediate family." "I know how ICU works, Mom. I'm a nurse." She flinched. "Of course. I just meant, Sarah, before you go in, I need to tell you something." "What?" "Victoria, she's not doing well. After everything that happened, after Jonathan broke off the engagement, she had a breakdown. She's been in treatment. She tried to—" Her voice broke. "She tried to hurt herself." I absorbed this. Felt a flicker of something. Not quite sympathy, but not quite satisfaction either. "I'm sorry she's struggling. But that's not my responsibility." "She's your sister. She's the person who said my daughter wasn't worth saving. She's the person who cared more about flower arrangements than Emma's life. Being related doesn't make her my responsibility, especially when she showed me I wasn't hers." "Sarah, please, I know we failed you. I know we don't deserve your forgiveness. But we're family." "No," I cut her off. "Family isn't just blood. Family is the people who show up when you need them. Family is Dr. Morrison staying with Emma tonight so I could come here. Family is Marcus driving to Boston every weekend to visit us during treatment. Family is the thousands of strangers who donated money to save my daughter. You're biologically related to me, but you're not my family, not anymore." I walked past her toward the ICU. Room 412 was quiet except for the beeping of monitors. My father lay in the bed, half his face drooping from the stroke, oxygen mask over his nose and mouth. He looked small, diminished, human. His eyes opened when I entered, widened with recognition. I pulled a chair to his bedside and sat. "Hi, Dad." He tried to speak, but the words came out slurred, nearly incomprehensible. I saw frustration flash across his features. "Don't strain yourself," I said. "I know why Mom called me. She said you were asking for me." He nodded, tears gathering in his eyes. "I want you to know something," I continued, my voice steady. "I don't forgive you. I don't forgive any of you for what you did. Emma could have died, would have died, if not for the kindness of strangers. You had the power to save her and you chose not to. You chose a party over her life." He made a sound, tried to reach for my hand. I moved it away. "But I also want you to know that Emma is thriving. She's healthy, she's happy. She's going to live a full life. And she's going to grow up knowing exactly what happened so she never makes the same mistakes you did. She's going to know that money without compassion is worthless. That reputation without character is hollow. That family means nothing if it doesn't come with loyalty and love. Tears were streaming down his face now. I came here tonight because I needed to see you one last time. I needed to look at you and know that I'm not like you. That I broke the cycle. That when my daughter needed me, I moved heaven and earth to save her, and I didn't care what it cost me. That's what parents do. That's what family does. He was sobbing now, as much as his broken body would allow. I hope, in whatever time you have left, you think about that. I hope you think about the choice you made and what it cost you. Not the business or the reputation or Victoria's wedding. I hope you think about what it cost you in terms of your soul. Because that's the real price you paid, Dad. Your humanity. I stood up to leave. His hand shot out, grabbed my wrist with surprising strength. He pulled the oxygen mask aside, struggled to speak. Sorry. The words were mangled, barely recognizable, but I heard them. I know, I said quietly. But sorry doesn't fix what you broke. Sorry doesn't give back the months Emma and I spent terrified. Sorry doesn't undo the choice you made. Please. He was begging now, with his eyes if not his words. Forgive. I looked at this man who'd given me life, who'd also been willing to let me watch my daughter die. And I felt nothing. No rage, no satisfaction, no grief. Just a profound emptiness where love used to be. I can't, I said finally. Maybe that makes me a bad person. Maybe I should be bigger than this. But I can't forgive you. Not because I'm holding a grudge, but because forgiveness implies that we'll have a relationship moving forward. And we won't. You killed whatever we had when you chose Victoria's wedding over Emma's life. I pulled my wrist free from his grasp. But I'll tell you what I will do. I'll make sure Emma knows you asked about her before you died. I'll tell her that in your final moments you thought about her. I won't poison her against you. When she's old enough to understand, I'll tell her the truth and let her decide what to make of it. That's all I can offer you. He closed his eyes, more tears escaping. Goodbye, Dad. I walked out of the room, past the monitors and machines keeping him alive, past my mother in the waiting room who started to stand when she saw me. Sarah, wait. He's awake. You can go in. Did you two? We said what needed to be said. Will you come back? Will you visit again? I looked at her, this woman who'd raised me, who'd also stood by while my daughter suffered. No, this is goodbye for us too. Sarah, please. We've lost everything. Don't make us lose you too. You didn't lose me, Mom. You threw me away when I didn't fit into your perfect life anymore. You threw me away when I got pregnant at 18. You threw me away again when helping Emma would have been inconvenient. You can't lose something you already discarded. We were wrong. We know that now. We were so focused on appearances, on what people would think, that we lost sight of what mattered. But we've paid for it. God, we've paid for it. And Emma almost paid with her life. Your payment doesn't erase that. I started walking toward the elevator. What about Victoria? My mother called after me. Will you at least talk to her? She's in a facility in Connecticut. She's been asking about you. She wants to apologize. I stopped, turned. Tell Victoria that I hope she gets the help she needs. I genuinely do. But I don't need her apology. It won't change anything. Sarah, please, we're family. No, we're not. Not anymore. The elevator doors opened. I stepped in. I loved you, my mother said, her voice breaking. I love you still. You're my daughter. The doors started to close. Then you should have acted like it when it mattered, I said. The doors closed. I rode down to the lobby, walked out into the cool spring night, and called an Uber. As I waited, my phone buzzed. A text from Dr. Morrison. Emma's still asleep. No rush. Take your time. I smiled. Family. Real family. The Uber arrived. I gave the driver my address and settled into the back seat. My phone rang again. My mother, from another number I didn't recognize. I declined the call. She called again. Declined. Again. I turned off my phone. When I got home, Dr. Morrison was on the couch, reading a medical journal. She looked up when I entered. "How did it go?" I sat down beside her. "He apologized. My mother begged me to forgive them, told me they've lost everything." "How do you feel?" "Empty, like I closed a door that needed closing, but there's nothing satisfying about it. I thought maybe I'd feel vindicated or powerful or something, but I just feel done. Done is good. Done is healthy." "Is it?" "I left my dying father in a hospital room. I refused to forgive him. I told my mother we're not family anymore. What kind of person does that make me?" "The kind who knows her worth. The kind who refuses to accept crumbs from people who should have given her a feast. Sarah, you didn't owe them anything. The fact that you went at all shows more grace than most people would have managed." I leaned back, closed my eyes. Emma asked me once if we'd ever see them again. I told her maybe someday when she's older if she wants to, but I don't think I will. Is that wrong? To deprive her of her grandparents? "You're not depriving her. They deprived themselves when they chose not to save her. Emma will have plenty of people who love her. She has you, Marcus, me, the community you've built. She doesn't need people who only care about her when it's convenient." We sat in comfortable silence for a moment. "There's something else," I said. "My mother told me Victoria had a breakdown, that she tried to hurt herself, and I felt nothing. Shouldn't I feel something? Shouldn't I feel bad?" "You feel what you feel. Victoria made her choices too. She's facing consequences. That's not your responsibility to fix." "But what if she—" "Sarah," Dr. Morrison took my hand. "You can't save everyone. You can only save the people who matter most. You saved Emma. You saved yourself. That's enough." My phone buzzed. I'd turned it back on. A text from an unknown number. "Your father passed away 20 minutes ago. Funeral is Saturday at St. Patrick's Cathedral." "Mother." I stared at the message. He was gone. The man who'd made me, who'd also broken me. Gone. I felt tears coming, but I wasn't sure what I was crying for. The father I'd had once before everything fell apart, the relationship that could have been, or just the sheer exhaustion of carrying this weight for so long. "I'm not going to the funeral," I said. "That's your choice. People will judge. They'll say I'm heartless, that I should put aside our differences to honor him. Let them judge. They don't know what you've been through." Saturday came. I didn't go to the funeral. Instead, I took Emma to the park. We fed the ducks, got ice cream, laughed at stupid jokes. She asked why I seemed sad, and I told her that someone I used to know had died. "Were they nice?" she asked. "Sometimes, not always." "Then you can be sad they're gone, but also okay that they're gone. That's what you taught me about feelings. They can be two things at once." Smart kid. My brilliant, surviving, thriving kid. That evening, Marcus came over. Brought pizza. We ate on the floor of the living room, Emma between us, talking about her science project. "Your mother called me," Marcus said after Emma went to brush her teeth. "She wanted me to convince you to come to the funeral." "What did you say?" "I told her you'd made your choice and it wasn't my place to question it. She didn't take that well." "I imagine not." "Sarah, do you think you'll regret this? Not going, not forgiving them?" I thought about it, really thought about it. "No," I said finally. "I might regret a lot of things in my life, but saving Emma won't be one of them. And everything I did, everything I sacrificed, including my relationship with my parents, was to save her. I'd make the same choices again. Even knowing what it cost? Even knowing what it cost." Emma came back, curled up between us. "Can we watch a movie?" "What do you want to watch, Princess?" Marcus asked. "Something happy, with dancing." We put on her favorite movie. She fell asleep halfway through, her head on my lap, breathing easy and deep. The breathing of a healthy child, The breathing I'd fought for, schemed for, destroyed my family for. Worth it. Every bit of it was worth it. 2 weeks later, I received a letter from my father's attorney. He'd left me something in his will. Not money, he'd died with debts, most of his assets seized or sold. But a letter, a final letter, written in shaky handwriting after the stroke. Sarah, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I need you to know that you were right. About everything. I spent my life building an empire, and in the end, it was built on sand. Victoria's wedding, my reputation, the business, none of it mattered. None of it was worth what I lost. I lost you, I lost Emma, I lost my soul, as you said. You asked me once to choose between money and family. I chose wrong. By the time I realized my mistake, it was too late. The articles were published, the reputation destroyed, but worse than that, you were gone. And I deserved to lose you. Emma is lucky to have you as a mother. You fought for her the way I should have fought for you, but didn't. You showed her what real love looks like, what real family means. I'm leaving you this letter not because I think it will fix anything, but because you deserve to know that you won. Not the revenge, not the destruction of the wedding or the business. You won because you saved your daughter and kept your integrity while doing it. You became everything I failed to be. I'm proud of you. I should have said that more. I should have shown it. But I'm proud of the woman you became despite me, not because of me. Take care of Emma. Take care of yourself. And someday, when she's old enough to ask about me, tell her that in the end, I understood what mattered. Even if I understood too late. Dad. I read the letter 3 times, sitting at my kitchen table, tears streaming down my face. It didn't fix anything. It didn't erase the months of terror, the nights of crying, the impossible choices. It didn't bring back the family we could have been, but it was something. An acknowledgement, a confession, an ending. I folded the letter carefully and put it in a box in my closet. Someday, when Emma was older, I'd show it to her. Let her decide what to make of it. For now, I had a life to live, a daughter to raise, a future to build. The past was finally, truly behind me. 3 months later, Emma and I were in the kitchen making dinner. Music playing, her dancing on my feet the way she used to before she got sick. She was laughing, her hair grown out into those curls she loved, her cheeks full of color. "Mommy, spin me!" I spun her, and she giggled, and the sound was the most beautiful thing I'd ever heard. Again! I spun her again, and in that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in over a year. Peace. We'd survived. Not just Emma's cancer, but everything that came with it. We'd survived my family's betrayal, the legal threats, the public scrutiny. We'd survived because we had something they didn't. Real love, real family, real humanity. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Dinner tomorrow? Emma wants me to help with her book report." Perfect. See you at 6. Another text, this one from Dr. Morrison. "Emma's latest labs came back. Everything's perfect. She's officially in long-term remission. Congratulations, Sarah. You did it." I sat down on the kitchen floor, Emma still dancing around me, and I cried. Not from sadness, but from relief, from gratitude. From the overwhelming knowledge that we'd made it through the darkness and found light on the other side. "Why are you crying, Mommy?" Emma asked, concerned. "Because I'm happy, baby. Because you're healthy and we're together and everything's going to be okay." "Everything's always okay when we're together," she said matter-of-factly. She was right. Everything was okay. Not perfect. We still had challenges, still had hard days. But we had each other, and we had people who truly cared about us. That was more than enough. That night, after Emma was asleep, I sat on my balcony and looked at the city lights. Somewhere out there, Victoria was in treatment, trying to rebuild her life. My mother was alone in that big house, dealing with debt and disgrace. My father was gone. I felt no satisfaction in their suffering, but I felt no guilt either. They'd made their choices, I'd made mine, and I'd choose Emma every single time, no matter the cost. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Ms. Castellano, this is Jennifer Walsh. Dr. Walsh, hello. I wanted to let you know that I've started a foundation for families who can't afford experimental cancer treatments for their children. It's called the Emma Castellano Foundation. I couldn't speak. We've raised $3 million so far. We've already helped 12 families. I wanted to ask your permission to use Emma's story, not the family drama, just her medical journey and recovery, to help raise awareness. Yes, I managed. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. What you did, Sarah, what you were willing to do to save your daughter, it inspired a lot of people, including me. I'd spent years working with wealthy families through their foundations, watching them treat charity like a tax write-off. Seeing you fight so hard for Emma reminded me why I became a doctor in the first place. Dr. Walsh, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, just keep being the mother you are. Keep showing Emma what real strength looks like. That's enough. After we hung up, I sat there for a long time, thinking about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the revenge, the destruction, the rebuilding. I'd started this journey thinking I needed to destroy my family to save Emma, but in the end, I'd built something better. A new family, a new life, a foundation that would help other families avoid the nightmare we'd lived through. Sometimes you have to burn everything down to see what's worth rebuilding, and what rose from those ashes was better than what came before. I went inside, checked on Emma one more time. She was sleeping peacefully, her favorite stuffed animal tucked under her arm, her breathing steady and strong. "Sweet dreams, baby," I whispered. We made it. We actually made it. And for the first time in over a year, I believed it. We'd made it through, together. And we were going to be okay, better than okay. We were going to be happy. So there you have it. Sarah's story, from betrayal to revenge to redemption. She didn't just save her daughter, she built a new life free from people who never deserved her. What did you think? Did Sarah do the right thing? Would you have gone to the funeral? Would you have forgiven them? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story moved you, if it made you think about what family really means, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because sometimes the most important stories are the ones about ordinary people doing extraordinary things to protect the ones they love. Thank you for being part of Emma's army. Until next time, remember, family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the people who show up when everyone else walks away. Take care of each other out there.